There are calls for the government to launch an inquiry into its drug funding agency, Pharmac. A collective of cancer support groups has this morning labelled Pharmac unjust, saying people are dying needlessly due to systemic underfunding of effective treatments. If you follow the program, you know we have followed this story. We think it's wrong. We think New Zealanders are dying when they shouldn't. Joining me now is the Alliance of Cancer Non-Governmental Organisations, the chair, Graeme Woodside. Graeme, g'day, good morning.
Good morning.
Your statement is strong. What's the guts? What are you saying?
Well, we're saying that it's not good enough in New Zealand. You know, we're way, way behind many of the other countries, 19th in the OECD for the supply of these new cancer drugs. You know, there's game-changer drugs that are coming on the market now, and they're simply taking too long for Pharmac and for the government to approve those, whereas other countries are getting into them, and as you were saying before, the survival rates are increasing significantly.
We are needlessly, with our hands-off attitude to this, and it's negligence at the very highest level, in my view, we are allowing New Zealanders to die when they don't need to die as early as they are. Do you agree with that statement?
Oh, I totally agree with that. You know, I mean, there's week after week, there are these sad cases of people raising money on Give a Little to Try and buy these incredibly expensive drugs, and many manage to do that for a time, but many people can't do that, and they simply don't have the resources to fund their care.
Okay, so why is Pharmac not buying some of the drugs that Australia's got, that Britain's got, that Canada's got, America's got, that Europe's got? I mean, it is so frustrating. The drugs are there. Other jurisdictions have them, but we don't.
Well, I think it comes down to process as much as anything, that Pharmac have a very set process, as I understand it, of what they do. But what a number of countries have done now is that they have actually bypassed their normal buying processes, and they've created a separate drugs fund. That certainly happened in the UK and in other parts of Europe. And that's what we're saying, that the government should really look at this.
So what do you want to happen then? So what is it you want?
There's been a proposal, and I've been on a working group, that's an independent working group that's put together a proposal, and we've pitched it to the Minister's advisors, of having a separate fund so that it's capped, it's time limited, and the risk is shared between the government or the funding agency and also the pharmaceutical companies.
A special fund to get the access to those drugs. A special
fund so that we can have rapid access to these, so it doesn't have to go through the long channels that it has to go through.
I agree with you. And also, Australia spends about 10% of its vote health, its health budget on medicines, drugs. Mm-hmm. Ours is about 4 or 5%.
Yeah, I understand it's about 4%.
So we spend half what Australia does per head.
Yep. And it takes up to 9 times longer here for drugs to be approved and funded as it does in Australia.
We're standing by. We're killing our people. I mean, in a sense, I know that sounds harsh, but we're allowing New Zealanders to die.
Yeah, and essentially this is not just a Pharmac issue. This is a political issue as much as anything. When Labor were coming to power, when they were out on the electioneering process, they were saying that they were going to put in a separate cancer agency. They were going to deal with cancer.
World-class cancer care, as many individuals said.
That's what they came to our Prostate Cancer Foundation conference in 2017, made the big announcement, things like that. What have we seen?
Nothing.
We've seen nothing.
Well, David Clark, my understanding last week at this cancer conference, he was extraordinarily lukewarm about any commitments around cancer.
He was. I was there at that conference, and I was very, very disappointed with the speech that he made. There was a lot of platitudes, there was a lot of talk about what they had done, but there was nothing about what they intend to do.
My understanding through my sources is that there's a pushback on a formal inquiry into Pharmac at the very highest level.
Yeah, although I think there's new leadership at Pharmac, and I think they are open to doing this. And I think the sort of discussion that we're having now and this ongoing discussion will help them to open it up.
Is it only cancer that's not getting the drugs?
No, it's not only cancer. I mean, I can only speak for cancer, yes. But there are many other conditions that aren't getting funded as well.
1 in 2 New Zealanders will have cancer. In 10 years' time, 1 in 2 of us will be affected by cancer.
It's frightening, isn't it?
But is it true? That's the statement that was made last week.
I mean, this is part of the ageing population that we've got, so 1 in 3 now, it's going to get to 1 in 2. Because we are living longer, we're dealing with some of the other.
Pharmac has to change its model. This is not a model that's no longer fit for purpose.
That's right. And one of the disappointing things was about the health and disability review that's undertaken. Pharmac was specifically excluded from that. And what there needs to happen is a specific review of Pharmac. So we call on the government to do that, to have a specific review of Pharmac, to look at the changing world of these new cancer medicines.
So why am I hearing that the Ninth Floor of the Beehive isn't that keen?
I don't know why you're hearing that. Maybe they're a little bit deaf, but I think there's been an awful lot about cancer in the media as a result of the conference last week.
It's such a closed shop. The government departments all over the place you can get access to, and you can talk to people. And Pharmac appears to me like there's no windows in the building, there's no front door, there's no back door. They're shut in this box, and you can't get to them.
Look, today is World Cancer Day. There's a great opportunity for them to make an announcement today that they would do something. We've put a proposal up to them that is a mere $75 million a year maximum. And that's been pitched up to them.
Have you heard from them?
No, we haven't. We went in and met with the minister's advisors. It's in the system, but I've got a request in for a meeting with the minister, so maybe we'll hear from them.
This is crazy and probably sharing way too much information, but over the weekend I had a really sore, tender breast, and it flicked through my mind that I thought after we had Dr. Fatima on last week, and I thought, imagine if I had, it was something more serious, and it was obviously the way I'd leaned on it or I'd strained it or something, and I thought, that would be my biggest fear because there's not the treatment, wide-ranging treatment available and the cost of it. And I think in this day and age, how can a New Zealander be in this position? And that's the reality.
When somebody's diagnosed with any cancer, prostate cancer and is the one that I speak for particularly, but with any cancer, the shock, the horror, the terror that they face, and then they begin talking about what treatment and all that sort of thing, and then the oncologist has to say to them, well, look, I'm sorry, but if you were over in Australia or if you've got $10,000 a month, we can actually give you this. But the way it is now, we can't. And so if you could have this, then your life expectancy would be X. If we can't give you this, then your life expectancy.
Don't get cancer in New Zealand, is what we're saying. Don't get cancer in New Zealand.
Well, that's one of the things, and there are very many things that we can do to stop getting cancer. Some cancers, but not for others, and it is a bit of a lottery.
I urge you to relook at this, and to Steve Mahari as well, who's the head of Pharmac now,
That's right.
on the board anyway. Just do something. New Zealanders deserve it. We pay our taxes. Nice to see you. All the very best.
All right. Thank you very much.